That's a thick one.
It's rare.
Okay, thank you. We ready with audio too? All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is 6:30 on the dot, so we're going to go ahead and get started for this Mulberry City Council regular meeting for Thursday, June the 4th, 2026. If you're able, we're going to start with the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance. So if you could stand, if you could. Start with an invocation. Dear God, thank you for this day. Thank you for this group of citizens that are gathered here today. Please be with everyone over the summer, people who in our city who may be traveling, who may be going to visit family. Keep them safe and be with them. Please guide this council, help them to make the best decisions for our community. And thank you for blessing us with a great city to live in. In your son's name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. For those that don't know, if this is your first time, we have copies of the agenda up here. If you'd like to follow along, feel free to grab one. But we are going to jump right ahead. We're at item D, which is our roll call. We're going to do it in the order of the district. So I'm going to start with District 1, Councilman Tim Sullivan.
Present.
District 2, that's me, Michael Coker, I'm present. District 3, Councilman Kyle Shields.
Present.
District 4, our Mayor Pro Tem, Michael Rudnick. And then District 5, Councilman Doug Ingram.
Present.
Madam Clerk, if you could notate that 4 out of the 5 council members are present this evening. All right, that brings us to item E, which is the mayor's opening comments. I know the city manager is probably going to talk about this a little bit, but we have our Mulberry Jam Festival coming up on June the 13th, a week from Saturday. It's going to be a great event. We have a lot of local businesses coming to kind of showcase. We have some local musicians that are going to be playing. Have some stuff for the kids. So definitely look forward to seeing everybody out there and really look forward to kind of building that sense of community that Mulberry's kind of has been known for the last couple of years. So we look forward to seeing everybody out there. Next thing is item F, council opening comments. Does any of the other council like to make an opening comment?
All good.
All right, hearing none, we'll move on to item G, city manager's opening comments. Anything from the city manager?
Yes, so there's a couple things. One, I just want to echo what the mayor said about Mulberry Jam. We look forward to seeing everybody out there next weekend. It'll be a great time. Then I want to add that I had a misstatement that I promised I would say publicly. When we were talking about trash services last time, there was a little bit of a miscount. We based it on our census data of 12,000 homes, but there are actually 14,000 homes inside the city limits. After speaking with one of our bidders, they wanted to make it known that they had 4,300 or so residents that they serviced, and the one that we talk about going to negotiations, the same number that we had beforehand. So that's how I reconcile that number. It wasn't 10 and 2. It was more 4 and 10. And so we'll have a little bit more discussion about that later on. So I just want to set the record straight publicly and make sure that we are fair across the board.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. All right, that will bring us to, and I guess I should have mentioned, Mulberry Jam is Saturday the 13th from
3 to 7.
3 to 7 p.m. at Duncan Creek Park,
It'll
right?
be at the pavilion area near Duncan Creek Park. We will have signs directing Gwinnett County PD and our marshal's office will be helping direct traffic. We have parking established where we 12 Stone Church. ADA parking will be near the venue spot. We'll have a stage next to the pavilion, bouncy houses, a lot of vendors. It's going to be a really good time.
Sounds good. Thank you. All right, that was to action item H, which is a consideration of tonight's meeting agenda. Councilman, I have one item that I was hoping that we could add for tonight's agenda. I was hoping we could talk about the e-bikes and the scooters that we're seeing. I think that would be a good kind of item. So I would like to add a item, preferably maybe, I guess that would be under action item MCD. Or no, we could put it under, let's do it under discussion items L A. So LA would be discussion of the e-bikes and scooters.
L public hearing.
That's a discussion item. Am I missing something?
M.
Thank you. I must be looking at an old version. Okay. Then the items MA. Thank you. Thank Councilman Sullivan.
Sure.
So it'll be e-bike and scooter discussion as MA. Okay.
I'd like to add to that discussion item, trash services. There's something else I'd like to bring up to you all.
Okay. So item
I will have an action.
action item. Okay. So let's add it under P. Action items. Item D will be trash services. Trash services discussion and action item.
I think I'd also like to add an item.
Okay.
On discussion items in city branding.
Okay.
It'll be a very minor discussion, but I think it might, provide some color on some other discussions we're having.
Okay. Anything else from the council?
No, I don't have anything, but Phil left out now.
All right, then I will make a motion to amend tonight's meeting agenda to add discussion item MA, a discussion about the e-bikes and scooters within the city. Discussion item MB, which is a discussion of the city branding and action trash services discussion and action items. And do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilman Sullivan. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor? All opposed? All right, by a vote of 4, the amendment carries. And then at this time, I make a motion to adopt the Mulberry City Council regular meeting agenda for Thursday, June the 4th, as amended. Do I have any second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilman Shields. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor? All opposed? All right, by a vote of 4, the motion as adopted. The agenda is adopted as amended. All right, that brings us to item I, consideration of the meeting minutes for May 21st, 2026. Has the council had sufficient time to review those meeting minutes, and are there any changes that need to be made? All right, I'll entertain a motion on this.
Make a motion to accept, what the proper terminology? Okay. Make a motion to accept the meeting minutes from May 21st, 2026 as presented.
All right, we have a motion from Councilman Ingram. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilman Shields. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call a vote. All opposed? All right, by a vote of 4, the meeting minutes for Thursday, May 21st, 2026 are hereby adopted. All right, moving right along. Item J, we have no reports and presentations. Item K is public comment. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the section where we give the public the opportunity to make a public comment if you would like to. We limit public comments to 2 minutes per individual. The council does not respond to public comments, but we will listen intently. The only thing we request is if you do come forward and give a public comment, we have a piece of paper up there if you write your name on there for the record. And if you could state your name, your address, and what district you live in, so we know. Is there anyone here who'd like to give a public comment this evening? Thank you, Mr. Stansel.
Yes, I'd like to apologize because we didn't have our Wayne Stansel 3262 Stansel Drive and District 3. They called off our Fort Daniel dig because the night before, they said it was 100% chance of rain with flash flooding. It's hard to dig square holes in the ground trying to find stuff. So we were kind of out of the loop. We had a medical emergency, so we were not in that call, but it turned out to be a pretty day. But on June the 14th, between 1 and 3, that's a Sunday afternoon. Probably will not have as many archaeologists involved, but they will have an open house. So that didn't come off, but really they probably made the best call for the information they had.
Perfect. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Stansel. Anyone else like to give a public comment? All right, come on. If you could just state your name and your address for us.
Good evening, Council. My name is Anas Al-Mohammadi. I live in Wildflower Park subdivision by Mulberry Park. I just listened to you guys discussing, this is my first time here, and proud to be called a Mulberry now because I just learned that when I came from overseas, that it's been finally incorporated into Mulberry. Adding to your garbage or waste management disposal services, I came with the intent to share with you a matter that concerns all of us. But since you're in the process, obviously, of either selecting a new vendor or going with the current vendor, right now, Republic's residential waste management is staining our streets with black stripes of contaminant. And that's wastewater leaking from the buckets collectors. This liquid is highly concentrated municipal waste shade, also known as garbage juice. So once this bakes in onto our asphalt, it becomes a prime breeding for rodents, flies, and disease-transmitting insects. This is a rapid catalyst for neighborhood deterioration, as you all know. And what makes our city beautiful is the collective pride that we show in maintaining our shared spaces, but allowing toxic waste bacteria and to be systematically tracked down for residential roadways that compromises perceived neighborhood quality and acts as a direct anchor, dragging down local property values. We're paying for a professional service to keep Mulberry clean, not to contaminate our infrastructure. So I urge the honorable members to hold Republics or the next vendor, whoever that may be, accountable and enforce strict equipment maintenance and demand that they seal these front load buckets. Thank you.
Thank you. Catch just one question. Have you brought this up to Republic? Have you talked to them yet
I
about it?
left them two voicemails unanswered. Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. All right. Is there anyone else who'd like to give a public comment? All right. Hearing none, I'll go ahead and close the public comments. Thank you for that. All right. That will bring us to item L, which is our public hearings. The first one is ordinance 2026-05170, case number TA-11. I guess Ms. Keeper is going to take care of this for us.
This is a public hearing before you tonight, as well as 803. Those are both scheduled for today. It was properly advertised in the Zones and Procedures Law, as well as our local ordinances for and heard the text amendment on May 19th and approved unanimously as it was presented to them. You'll see that the changes before you tonight. This is the Q2 amendments. We're going through quarterly and making UDO updates. These are less substantive than the Q1 and any prior updates, just get more refined in the draft and just in time to do the UDO rewrite next year as we get the new comprehensive plan. So what you see is mostly minor refinements. We've got some various content like amendments to the definition section, various base zoning district amendments just in the use table, as well as a daycare facility within that use table. We have added and enabled an overlay district. This is the most substantive change within what you're seeing tonight. What this is to reflect the ongoing conversations that we've had and has been kind of a policy priority to enact an equestrian district within the city. So what this does is outline some architectural requirements, some minimum lot standards over certain areas of this city. So we've got the zoning map. What you see in the hashed area is that area that is intended to be enabled with this overlay district. This does not preclude a development within that district to apply for a planned unit development district, and the council would have full discretion to kind of approve as would be based on policy documents and your preferences. There's discretion to approve something consistent with all of the policy documents in addition to the overlay district. But this outlines and enables those extra protections for the equestrian district in this area. This is just an outline of those different requirements. A fence, a corridor fence to be able to really identify the character of the corridors within the overlay district. Like I said, the architectural requirements, the 1 acre minimum lot size, and then a chart of the acceptable architectural styles that would be allowed within there. And then a requirement for certain developments over 20 acres to provide 2 out of the 3 of either trail connection from the trailhead or community riding area. And so that ensures those community amenities are being added as well to those developments. And then this is a district that's already enabled, but this is the Hamilton Mill overlay district. So that there it is on that map. In the purple. And then we've got some other, like I said, general cleanup, some procedural cleanup, just to make sure we've got really clear guidance on expiration of land disturbance permits, building permits at different stages, because there are a lot of those permits, application submittal, after they've received comments. And so at any period of dormancy, just making sure that there's clear guidance, not only staff, but also to applicants as to when those expirations occur. That is everything, just kind of generally for this text amendment.
Any questions from the council for Ms. Pieper?
I have maybe just a couple on the, obviously this is the first read, right?
Yes.
First read. So we have an opportunity to go back and identify any of the things we talked,
That's right.
okay, from an architectural standpoint. If we see just some tweaks or whatever, we can recommend those back to you.
Yes, it's
Yeah,
scheduled for
okay.
a second read on June 18th, so we can make the adjustments between.
Gotcha. I mean, in general, I think it's really exciting. So good job on, from a staff perspective. I know it's a lot of work, but I think what we end up with is a more compelling vision for how to use important land that has been in the community for a long time. So that's exciting. One of the things that I was going to ask, I see the requirement, which I think is a great requirement, about public use amenities, trail connections and things like that. When we look at those commitments that have to be made, does the city maintain those public trail environments after they're commissioned? Are they kind of public right away?
So I
Yeah.
will say this, right? So the vision that was casted was based upon 3 things.
Yeah.
The first thing being, we came out of the retreat and we started talking about district. How do we have the district architectural standards that we all tried to do based on how you all wanted your districts to look?
Mhm.
And what do we do in the blended areas,
Mhm.
right? Because of the fact that the Hamilton Mill 124 overlay already exists, it gives a good standard of how you kind of move between 1 and 3,
Yeah.
and then, and 3 and 2.
Mhm.
There is no kind of line of standards that blends between 4 and 5, though. And we think that based upon the executive character area as well as the equestrian character area, having a overlay there would fit with a transition spot.
Yeah.
So when we throw all that together, these are some elements that we had pulled from different areas that have this kind of equestrian style. Like Milton has some elements about the fence and what the look of the fence is. We pulled from one of the areas in South Carolina, and then just what we all talked about.
Gotcha.
The other thing that I want to highlight here is that this does have the idea in mind that if anyone wanted to develop a couple of homes, they're based upon an acre at a time. But we do have the idea of using a PUD inside of that. So if someone were to assemble a lot of acreage, there are standards that would go in there, which is why we put the element of, a certain number of units or a certain acreage in there over it. They have to add these public elements to it. Now, when we talk about the public elements, which is the third point in this, is that also goes down to like how we negotiate and talk about it.
Sure.
Right? It could be something that is maintained by us. It could be something that is maintained by the HOA of whatever's developed, or a combination of both.
So that becomes a discussion at that time.
And that's
Yeah.
that's where the line goes through. Like, we just set the elements of what the zoning looks like that
Sure.
fits y'all's vision.
Okay.
Right? The component of the rest of that are done with, is this someone who's assembling, 1 to 48, 49 units, someone who's doing 50 or more? Because if
Yeah.
they're doing 50 or more, there has to be some form of public give back.
Got it. Okay, makes sense. And the overlay district that you outlined, it's going from Fence all the way back to Bailey, right? And
It's
paired-
Fence Road, Bailey, and then right at the intersection of Clack and Fence.
Got it. Okay, makes sense. Yeah, just to, maybe to put a finer point on it, and I think most of us know this, but maybe it's worth discussing the trail connectivity. Obviously, this is in super close proximity to Little Mulberry Park. So the vision eventually might be that there's a lot of walkability through Mulberry, which is pretty exciting. So that's, really good stuff. And I think it comes at a good time too, because we have we have this Rowan project, and that it's about life and science and health and longevity. And, we're working on how people get around in the city. So, okay, thank
There are
you.
two things that I want to add to that. So we do have the in mind of two big points for us. One is the equestrian, and we have heard from a lot of people in the community that, there are a lot of people here who like to do, I guess you could say, more of your derby style or dressage style riding, but a lot of people here just like ride two trail systems that quietly we're not ready to reveal yet, that we are working on. And one is connecting everyone back to Little Mulberry Park and back around to the equestrian park off of Mineral Springs. And then doing that as a trail system so we can show people where to ride, and those will just be natural trails. And the other one is more of your traditional municipal trail system.
Yeah.
Right? Your standard 6 to 12-foot sidewalks, and where those need to be laid out inside of different character areas. I just felt that because of where this is, we needed to go ahead and move forward with putting this overlay in place to protect that vision.
Yeah.
Before anything were to, come.
That makes sense. Yeah, I think obviously I'd shared some comments. I don't know, it came not too long before this meeting. So, but on the architectural style, just in terms of some of the materials and styling, I did have some comments, but I'll just share those with you guys separately. Maybe we can incorporate them in the next discussion.
Yes, sir.
I just had one question. What was the rationale for not taking the overlay district all the way to the county line and just encompassing the entire bit there? Was there a rationale for that?
A lot of times when you want to do an overlay, you just use roads as boundaries, right? There's no reason why we couldn't take it to the county line. We could do that. We just felt that like at some point, there's probably going to be a roundabout right there at that intersection. That gives us a gateway to kind of just say, hey, here's where the gateway is going to be. Put a slide out there potentially, make a look at what that is. There have been a lot of discussions on multiple fronts about this area, primarily as, it's the, right? Like there's the Drapac development, they are required to look at that intersection as well and putting a signal or something at that intersection. So in protecting everything else around it, once people start seeing infrastructure, new things in areas, we believe in the vision of the city. We want to go ahead and start trying to protect our larger undeveloped areas as soon as we can. And so we think placing this overlay in this area doesn't deter anybody who already lives there, and the use of their property. But if someone were to come in, there are thresholds, and we want to make sure that those thresholds were in place.
Okay. Any other questions from the council?
Just a very quick, I wanted to make sure to mention this. Like the Virgin Planning Commission saw staff, at the staff level, we did make a couple of very minor adjustments, but I wanted to be explicit about it. During discussion with the planning commission, they talked about the painting or staining of the fence. Even though they were approving of the language, we felt like it was a good practice to kind of clarify kind of a black stain instead of a stain or a paint. So we made that adjustment and cleaned up the definition of building facade and a couple of phrasing clarifications in this version, different than what planning commission saw.
Thank you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, there is a public hearing component of this, so we are going to allow people in from the public to get up and speak if you so would like to. We limit it to 10 minutes for those that want to speak in favor of this ordinance and 10 minutes for those that want to speak in opposition. So at this point, we will open it up for anyone who would like to speak in favor of ordinance number 2026-05170. Is there anybody here who'd like to speak in favor of ordinance 2026-05170, which is case number T11? Hearing none, I'll go ahead and close the public hearing for those who want to speak in favor of the ordinance. Is there anyone here who'd like to speak in opposition of ordinance 2026-05170? Hearing none, I'll go ahead and close the public hearing for speak in opposition of ordinance 2026-05170. All right, that will conclude the first read of that ordinance. And so we are going to move on. The second read is going to be on June the 18th, correct, Rebecca? That's correct. Okay, June the 18th meeting. All right, that brings us to item M, which is discussion items. The first one is A, which is a discussion about the e-bikes and scooters. So gentlemen, I have had many constituents reach out to me about some concerns that I think they have about some young, particularly, I would say, preteen age individuals, that are riding electric bikes and electric scooters, but they're not riding them on the sidewalk, they're not riding them in the neighborhoods, they're riding them on the main roads. And I've had multiple constituents reach out to me. Apparently, there was an individual that was a young child that was hit on Hog Mountain Road a little while ago. There's been multiple near misses apparently on Hamilton Mill Road, on 124. And this seems to be a growing problem happening, not just I think in Mulberry, but I'm seeing it's on, the news throughout the city of Atlanta, right? It seems like cities all around Metro Atlanta are having this problem. And so it seems like a lot of the cities are getting out in front of this as quick as they can, right? Before, God forbid, we have a kid that dies, because of they're out riding their e-bike or scooter. So if the council's amenable to the idea, I was going to ask the city attorney to start drafting some language or come up with some proposals for an ordinance that would maybe potentially limit or even ban these e-bikes and scooters from being ridden in the street or in the right of way or one of those type of things. So, but I wanted to open it up for discussion, see if there was anything that that you gentlemen wanted to add to that, or any concerns or thoughts that you had.
Yeah, I'd like to add permitting and licensure for that as well. If you're gonna have a kid doing that, I mean, grew up as a child, I had to have a permit to ride on a bicycle in the street. I just think it makes sense. That way you get somebody in front of somebody with some authority and it's okay, little man, little girl, here's, give me your $25 and you can go do this.
Any thoughts?
I think the dilemma, I agree with the safety concerns. I think that's the dilemma is these e-bikes are going like 25, 40 miles an hour now, so they're not like, you can, really grind on a bicycle, maybe go 15, 20 miles an hour, but these things are going extremely fast. And so you're right. We've seen them all over, right? But we see them, I think the concern is we see them on very major roads where they have dump trucks and commercial vehicles and they're not observing traffic laws. So they don't have a driver's license.
Got
So
no
they
lights
don't,
either,
yeah.
no helmet.
So I would think that I don't know that even having them be permitted and on these major roads is the right.
Well, no, I wouldn't want them on the major
Okay,
roads.
okay,
Yeah, you
okay.
permit to actually get on any road.
So there's three types, correct me if I'm wrong, Chief, but aren't there three types of e-bikes and they have different laws for each one?
There are, and,
Yeah.
luckily, since we've heard that you were gonna have this discussion in about 5 minutes. I said, Lieutenant Fishaw, I said, go get all the laws, go get everything. I'm sure we're gonna get drug into this. So if it's suiting the council, Lieutenant Fish is willing to come up and speak on.
That'd be great.
Sure, we'd appreciate that.
Yeah,
Dennis.
Yeah, I'm not very well schooled in this, right? But a little bit different than what I did in detectives. So like you said, there's three classes of bikes. The first one is going to be 20 miles an hour, which is pretty impressive. You can do that. Then you got your second class, that's with a throttle. It stops at 20 miles an hour. And then the class 3 is pedal assist and it stops at 28. Now we know these things are going more than 28 miles an hour. And if they are, they're supposed to have a permanent class label on their bike, which makes them, they have to have registration, if they have insurance, they have a driver's license. So the same as like a motorcycle.
Okay.
I actually reached out to Major Bailey at District 4, the east side of everything last week. And they are coming up with something right now with their special ops unit to try to combat this. I don't know what that plan is. I'll reach back out to him and see. Not that I think an ordinance would be great. That gives us something we can work on, like with the marshal's office, because obviously with the SDS, the state laws is kind of a barrier for us.
Yeah.
But I also ask him whatever we can do to get involved. That everybody can ride a bike on the road. I don't know if you would be able to impose a fine because it's everybody's right to be able to ride a bike on the road. I mean, simple. If they're 16, they're supposed to wear a helmet. If they're not wearing a helmet, the caveat to that is you can't fine or charge or arrest the child, but there are some misdemeanor things that can be brought towards the parents from what I've read. Bill might be able to elaborate on that more if he does some research and stuff on it, but that's kind of where I'm seeing things right now. One of our code enforcement officers has 29 years experience out in California. They've had this 7 years ago, and he said they just, as soon as they turn, you can't chase them. It's not worth chasing them.
Okay.
So it's a frustrating thing, and hopefully we legislation, that'll combat this a little bit better. But that's kind of what I've derived.
So the demarcation is really on the throttle side of it, right? So like,
Yeah, the
pedal-
class 3 has to have a speedometer. It has to have the permanent class label showing the top assisted speed. It can't go over 750 watts.
Yeah.
Or it's going to be right into that,
Yeah.
this motorcycle.
Lieutenant Chief, I think either way, maybe we should talk about PTVs too, because I see where they're going with e-bikes, and a lot of that is still a lot of classification with PTVs, right? They're different classes. There's a difference in where it has to be street legal or not. There are some that have a max of 25.
Sorry, what's a
miles an hour.
PTV for those that don't know?
Golf cart, right? So like, that's the difference, right? When you
Yeah.
when you have your standard golf cart that goes like, 10 miles an hour, and that is a true golf cart, right? If it goes up to 25 or 35 miles an hour, then it's a PTV. It has to have a tag. Those are the ones that are only allowed on the road. And then you have what I call your big bodies, right? Like your Gators and everything else, your side by sides, right? And that's another classification. And so each one of them is regulated differently. And now that e-bikes have become a thing, like I hate to say, like back in my day, the Lime, like scooters were the thing that we had to regulate. But
So you can regulate those things through licensing or registration with the city as far as the PTVs. I would probably try to link a lot of these into one. That way you don't have to keep going back and forth. And you can find a way in your ordinance to link them all together. Additionally, you can't ride any of these things on the sidewalk.
Yeah.
There's no bicycles or any type of vehicle, and a bicycle is considered a vehicle. You cannot ride those on the sidewalk.
Right.
So
There's a state law for that.
when you see kids riding bikes on the sidewalk, I know why they're doing it because it's safer, but they're really not supposed to be.
So what's, Chief and Lieutenant, what's y'all's recommendation? I mean, so obviously my objective, right, is to get these kids to not be in the middle of the road. Not because I don't want kids to have fun and I'm just the Grinch. It's more about when they're weaving in and out of 124, right? It's 45 mile an hour speed limit and they're weaving in and out of them. I mean, someone's going to get killed.
So it's much different when we were children riding bikes, right? Today, there's reasons that, police departments are getting away from motors, right? Motor vehicles, motorcycles. Is because people today have their windows up, they're texting on phones,
Right.
these officers are getting hit. Same thing with kids. You know, today, people have these airtight cars, they got the radios blaring, they're on phones, their attention's divided, and then a kid jets out in front of them and they get hit. So I think you're on the right path with some type of ordinance.
So I guess my question, obviously, if they're entitled to ride these on the roadway, right, by state law, I mean, I guess registration is the best next thing, because then we could go up to them and say, hey, show me your proof of your registration? And I bet you 99% of them are not going to have a registration, right? That's probably effectively going to get them
Well, I
off the
think
roadway.
registration would fall if they reach a certain class,
Okay,
right? Because we're not gonna have them registration for bicycles.
yeah,
I think when they reach the third class, that would be my recommendation for the registration. I was talking more about the PTVs,
okay,
more with that, if you decide you want to allow those in certain mile an hour zones, right? They still have to abide by state law when operating that vehicle though. So even a bicyclist has to abide by all the rules of the road that apply to a bicycle.
yeah,
And so a lot of that's through education. Maybe it can be through media push through our PIO, how we want to, to inform first, right? Hey, this is a problem and we're looking at doing these types of things. Again, like you said, Mayor, you're not trying to be a Grinch. You're really more concerned about their safety.
100%.
So I think, that's what we want to do. We want to educate first, try to get parents to be parents and handle their problems.
Good luck. Yeah, right.
I think being able to hold the parents liable, if we can work that into the ordinance now, I think that's gonna give us a lot more teeth.
And
Did you hear about the California case that happened?
Was
Yeah.
this the
Where the old,
teacher got hit by the kid?
the older gentleman that was a military gentleman got hit by an e-bike with a juvenile?
Yeah.
And they actually found the mom guilty.
Oh.
Put her, yeah, so
Okay.
take a look at that. It's
Yeah, 'cause
like,
these kids aren't buying these bikes unless they
No.
get shot.
No.
Want a lot of ones.
And I mean, there was a post I saw literally earlier today that I guess it happened in your district where a kid fell off of one of them.
Yeah,
And this lady had to slam on her brakes and she was like a foot from hitting this kid.
Right.
And it was one of the things she posted. She said his family's life would have been ruined. My life would have been ruined because I would have had to live with that for the rest of my life. Right. And it's just like, it's not worth the risk.
Yes, well, the other, and I'm gonna call it an issue, are electric vehicles we have today, correct? They're so quiet, so the kids, they don't know people behind them. They
Yeah.
start doing donuts, things like that, before they know, things happen.
Okay.
Right, so I would say that, a good education campaign through social media would probably be a good start, along with backing it up with a solid ordinance.
So how about if direction is we give the city attorney direction to explore an ordinance and the PIO direction to explore, I'm sorry.
Which I have a request.
Okay.
So in that, as we look at like our workload and everything else, I think it would be best to where if staff could work with the city attorney and the PIO plan together. But we would request to come back to you all the second meeting in July with a plan, and then come back the first meeting of August with a actual ordinance. I just don't want to set unrealistic expectations. Like, we can tell you how we plan on this and throwing PTV inside of it. Like, we'll have an answer and an ordinance to you
Sure.
in the next 2 meetings. Like,
Right.
that's just not realistic for where we're at.
Okay.
now, just to make a point, it's not just e-bikes. The kids that I almost ran over going home last council meeting, mini bikes. The old lawnmower engine driving the thing, kid was probably 8 or 10.
Yeah.
So let's not just focus on e-bikes. It's mini bikes and it's the scooters as well.
Yeah.
Well, and I mean, the other thing too is we've been talking about PTVs, golf carts for a while. And I sneak up here on some Saturdays and Sundays just to get a feel for what it's like going around. And I can't tell you, like, what people have realized, right? Like just everybody else will. They know that code enforcement and our marshals are out there Monday through Friday. So on Saturdays, I can't tell you how many like golf carts I've seen coming like down the sidewalk from Duncan Creek Park or going over to Publix and everything else, right? Like that's something that we need to look at. Your different type of motorized vehicles that are under a certain speed limit.
So, Mr. City Attorney, what is do you want us to take a vote on that? Do you
I
have
have
your direction? Okay. All right.
Any other questions from council?
No, thank you, Lieutenant. I appreciate it. Anything else from the council before we move on from that direction? Okay. All right, let's move on to discussion item M-B, which is city branding. I'll turn that.
Mr. Mayor. This can be relative. I just wanted to, I kind of made a comment the last city council meeting we had with the vendor that was in here, Republic Industries. So the comment was part of a broader discussion, maybe, or I've been talking with constituents. One of the things that I've now commonly heard that I think is worth maybe just recognizing is folks say, like what's happening, but some folks are not fully aware that they're now part of the city of Mulberry. And so one of the things that I think that we see in a lot of these communities, maybe that we potentially can draw some aspiration from, is they've done a very good job of branding the experience for their citizens that live in the city, so that they are, as we're creating, and I know you guys are well on the way to creating this with Mulberry Jam and these other things that we're doing. But I think it's worth maybe just mentioning and talking, or at least putting it on the agenda and talking about the of it, because I think that there are opportunities where if we are going to touch 14,000 citizens' homes with trash service, that there is the opportunity to further amplify the city of Mulberry branding in that experience versus flying Acme Trash Industries brand on the side of that trash can. There are some opportunities. Now I know those come with economics and a lot of those things. But I think there are ways that we can kind of think through and maybe do some things that could be beneficial, because, I think when I run down on trash morning, right, when I run down 324, I see trash canister after trash canister, and there's an opportunity to maybe further reinforce that you're in the city of Mulberry, just like we
Kind
did
of like
with
right up there on the TV.
Yeah, Mulberry
Yeah.
branded
Okay.
trash cans.
Yeah, yeah, just like we've done with the city of Mulberry. And again, I know there's some economics on that. We have to look at that. I've just heard it's just about awareness. So it's like awareness building. So that's it.
I would be interested to know what the cost of that would be, right? So maybe that's the discussion, is that maybe if that's a rapid call to be made.
Ask them how bad they want the business.
Yeah, exactly.
Like what's the economics?
Sure.
Because I don't know if that's a city expense, if that's what the city has to pay for all the replacement of all those. Is that come from the private vendor? I mean, that I think would be a discussion.
I think I can answer a little bit of that. So generally how something like that would work is it's the purchase of the can. Sometimes, a lot of times, if you have one vendor or two vendors, then we would look at that. That usually would come out either our franchisee fee, or would be working to the contract at cost increase, until you get some stability about what it would be to rebrand or resticker every trash can.
Yeah.
How that may look in the future, we need to sit down and figure that out and figure out what the cost increase would be, and then that's the rate that's added on top of trash services. Or it's something that we take a look at, and what's the, if we do a contract for a certain number of years, what is the cost spread out of us either not having a franchisee fee or having a reduced franchisee fee in order to get that taken?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think, and all of us have had different experiences, but one of the things that I'm pretty aware of is in negotiations. You know what I mean? Can be some discussion about that. I think it's just vision setting. We need to brand the city. A great way to do that is if we're going to put 14,000 cans in a community, could we have a call out to the city of Mulberry somewhere?
28,000.
And then have it, right?
Recycle too.
Yeah, other recyclable too. That's right. So it's just, it's the element of that. I think that I would like us to discuss that with these vendors, because I think that these guys are creative. They're business guys. They get it, and they understand the dilemma we have, which is just trying to bring awareness. And so the question is, how do we do that? And they may say, well, it's going to take X, Y, and Z. And then, you guys are confident, we'll figure it out, steer through. And it's not just about the trash cans, by the way. That wasn't, from a discussion
No, and
point.
one thing, Lauren, you go up for a second. one thing that I kind of want to add to this, since we were talking about branding, right? I know it's not the trash cans,
Yeah.
right? So I'm inviting Lauren up, our PIO, because she's been working on our branding packet as well as when we stay with doing some media stuff. And so I kind of just want like give them a really quick thing about like what we put together so far with Mighty Eight and all that, and where we're headed.
Sure. Hello, council members. Entered into an agreement with Mighty Eight Media in Buford. They are working with us primarily on finalizing our branding and our brand messaging, as well as we're going to work with them on a series of videos or reels for social media that can go out into the community and talk about a different aspect of the city, an educational campaign, if you will. One of the things that we've actually talked about with them for a topic of our reel is, am I in Mulberry? Because to your point, like I've heard conversations on City Hall, heard our front office people on the phone, whether or not they're in Mulberry. So that is going to be more than likely one of the topics of our reels. And then also one of my priorities since I have gotten here, of course, is that branding. So I have now created a brand kit. You know, you have like your primary logo, which is what you see on the screen here. You're always going to have a secondary logo, which is the one that you see behind you on the door. And then you're usually going to have a tertiary logo as well as that primary, secondary, and tertiary colors as well. You probably noticed on social media now with some of the branding that we're doing with our post as well. And so more than anything, what that is just letting people know when they see those items on social media or out in the community, and even if they see the seal, it's instantly recognizable as the city of Mulberry.
Right. Gotcha. No, that's great. That's perfect. Thank you. And maybe just another thing for the council to try as I'm thinking through the math on this, and you already know this, Jamie, on your side, but you know, however this trash situation, again, it's not just about trash, but however it gets rectified, we've got two vendors. So in that scenario, I imagine somebody's going to have to end up buying cans and doing some allocation of assets, whether it's, if we're whatever, 12,000, we said 14,000, something like that. So if we're, you know, the 10,000 is going to have to go find 4,000 and get those standardized, because I'm sure their machines and equipment and everything is standardized to that. Or if it's the 4,000, we'll just see where that comes out. But somewhere there's, I think, an education point, and you guys are well equipped to have that. I just think that my perspective as we talk about citizens and them feeling a compelling vision for the city, some of that is us just putting our brand out there. And you guys are already well on the way, but I just wanted to highlight that because I think it's an important goal.
I think it's a great idea. The one kind of thing that I'd be interested to know is, like, so my law practice is in City of Lawrenceville, right? City of Lawrenceville provides its own trash service, has its own trucks, its own city employees pick up the trash, whatever. So they have city cans. I think Tequila is the same way.
They do.
Tequila, they got their own trucks, their own employees, their own whatever. I'm not aware of any private entity that provides trash service where they simultaneously have a branded can. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I'm not familiar with that. I'm sure there may be out there,
Yeah.
but that would be the one thing is that I do know with Lawrenceville and Tequila, they are actually putting their own trucks and service on the road as opposed to negotiating a third party contract.
But you know, and you're right, and I thought about that, but it actually, I think that makes the point even more, because if the city, they're underwriting the cost of the trash service through the fees that are paid for the trash. So there's somewhere there was a realization that, hey, we're going to bring trash in, we're going to brand our city. I think I think it's maybe they've never asked, right? Maybe folks just haven't.
Could be. I know my trash cans are branded with Red Oak, and whoever Red Oak bought out, it used to be my carry. So, you know, they brand their own with their own name for sure.
Yeah, I think we deserve some branding of our own, right?
I think it's a great idea.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else about branding?
Just one other thing, a quick question for, whatever happened to our swag store in doing something with Vox Populi?
I have called them multiple times. They have not called back.
Okay.
Yes, sir. So Lauren we have talked about that. We did set up a meeting with them beforehand. Once about a year ago, we missed each other in around February or so. We reached out a couple more times and just didn't had a call back yet. It could be a host of things, right? They're a very busy company. But you know, we are looking at setting up a merch store, even if it's not that vendor.
Right, yeah. We
We'll
need
have
something.
branded t-shirts.
Probably something else I should mention too, right? The t-shirts are supposed to come tomorrow. If anybody who's seen the Mulberry Jam, the little Mulberry guy out, it was a great team effort, right? Like we had the graphics produced, and then we turned around and I had a staff vote on what the color schemes were. But we're gonna have the little Mulberry guy on what I call the what'd you call it yesterday? The pocket. I call it where the polo horse is supposed to go. Right? So the little Mulberry guy and that logo will be there. The tree logo will be on the back. We will have them in a mulberry purple color or a black t-shirt color. We have those available for sale at Mulberry Jam. Of course, council will get one. And then we are looking at other ways of putting our brand out there. We especially have Lauren on board who is, finalize our colors and everything else. We can show you all in a little while. As we get ready for the GMA conference, GMA has a time frame where all the cities put their city flags up, and then someone carries the city flag, and it's the parade of colors, like we're the UN or something for all 538 of us. But again, as a part of that branding, we now have a Mulberry flag using our tertiary logo, which is the seal that you see on the dais here. So we are quietly working through those things and getting the merch store open once we find someone who can do it, not just have a Shopify account, right? But we're getting there.
Good deal. Good deal. I nominate Councilman Shields as our flag bearer.
What's funny is I did too.
There you go. All right, great minds think alike. Here we go. Anything else on branding? We got to keep this moving along. Anything else? Okay. All right. Thank you, gentlemen. All right, that'll bring us to item N, first read of ordinance 2026-05171.
This will be a good advocate for consent agenda. All right. The item before you is amendments to Chapter 6. These are very limited in their amendments. It just references to Gwinnett County Police Department, changing to marshals, changing references of county to city. Those are the changes in Chapter 6. There is no need for a public hearing for this item. It is before you for first read.
Okay. Any questions for Ms. Kiefer about ordinance 26-05171? All right, hearing none, we will go ahead and conclude the first read for ordinance 2026-05171. That brings us to B, ordinance 2026-05172.
These are amendments to Chapter 10. They are simply outlining the removal of bond requirements for a demolition permit. The current requirement is for a $500 cash bond. We've got lots of other mechanisms to be able to enforce what we need to if there are issues with a demolition. So this is a little bit onerous.
All right, any questions for the Community Development Director on ordinance 2026-05172? All right, that will conclude the first read of ordinance 2026-05172. That'll bring us to NC, ordinance 2026-05173.
Right, with Chapter 14, that is our businesses. We've got, again, the county and city cleanups. I did want to note there was in kind of prepping for the meeting tonight, I did notice the discrepancy in cleaning up this chart. In error, we removed tax class 6. That was not intended, so we do intend to add that tax class 6 back into that chart above for the second read. Other than that, we also have some restructuring of the ordinance, suspension provisions, appeals provisions, and work permits, but largely the content is intact.
Any questions for Ms. Kiefer on ordinance 2026-05173? And this, I have one question. So this is related to the, like the business license, the gross receipts fee.
Exactly.
Are we going to, just for the council, are we going to keep, I know we had discussed this time last year, keeping the $20,000 cap. That's what Gwinnett County, but I'd also seen that other cities have since raised that cap. Is that something we want to explore while we're amending this? I don't know. Any
This is
thoughts
on
on that?
the occupational tax
Yeah.
for the businesses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when we, for those, just to refresh memory, when we enacted this initial ordinance, we did not have a cap on the gross receipts. We had a couple businesses reach out and say, whoa, Gwinnett County had a cap of 20,000. Other cities, it was my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, that they have since raised that cap, that it's not at 20,000 anymore, that they've raised it. I think some are at 30, some are at 40. So I just wanted to, maybe while we're having this discussion, that might be something. I don't know if we want to keep that cap at 20. Do we want to give staff the direction to explore raising that cap? I mean,
I mean, my opinion would be, and I don't know how you guys feel, and, I've had some discussion with some other folks in the community, but I think I think we want to be on par. You know what I mean? I think if we find ourselves in a situation where, I think the last decision we made was really focused around fairness and trying to be in par and in step with Gwinnett County, and being receptive to the business owners. But at the same time, we can't lock that number in it forever. So I think we have to be a little fluid in understanding what the climate is. So certainly if the climate of that occupational tax certificate is moving up all across the board and we're locked in at a very low number, we probably need to explore that.
I do want to add that there are very few that would exceed that cap, and we're looking Walmart,
Camping.
World,
Yeah.
Publix.
Okay.
Right, like your
So the largest
national brands are the
businesses
only
and
big
ones that are
markets.
going to exceed that cap. Most of our businesses
Sure.
fall like right at
That's
that
a good
level or
point.
below.
That's a good point.
So, and one of the reasons why we want to make this adjustment, and we have heard from everyone, we wanted to make sure we kept everything stable. But the main reason for cleaning this up now is now that we've gone through the renewal period of OTCs, we want to evaluate those numbers just slightly, because we think that whatever information was pulled in beforehand in between the months of January and February of last year may not be aligned with exactly what Gwinnett did, or Gwinnett gave us some different information. Is the best way to put it. So we want to adjust that as how we look at our fees, as well as adjust how we classify our fees, and then reassess the permitting process itself.
Yeah. And the objective not being punitive, but being equitable, right? It's just on par. Yeah.
So I think it's fair that, if y'all wanted us to explore that, we can come back with some data at the second read of what that cap is actually at for other cities,
I think that'd be
and
great.
then the number of businesses it would affect if we raised it.
Yeah, because I could be wrong, but I think when I did the research in February or whatever of last year, when I started looking at other cities, I realized, most of them had already raised that cap, but Gwinnett, for whatever reason, had not joined it. So we seem to be, I recall being on the low end of that spectrum. So,
Yeah.
okay.
That's a good point.
Okay, perfect. All right, that will conclude the first read of ordinance 2026-05-173. That'll bring us to D, ordinance 2026-05-174.
Chapter 46, our pawn shop ordinance. This is just cleaning up city and county references.
All right, any questions for the Community Development Director on ordinance 2026-05-174? Hearing none, that'll conclude the first read of that ordinance. That'll bring us to ordinance 2026-05-175.
Chapter 58 is our telecommunications ordinance. A recent application, there are a lot of FCC as well as state regulations on small cell wireless technology, but we did not have anything locally that would allow us to at least do the minimal amount of regulating that we're allowed to do. So this adds in some definitions as well as a regulation process for those applications.
Any questions about ordinance 2026-05-175?
What are small cell?
So where the wireless towers, those impact coverage. They improve coverage. Small cell is what impacts capacity. So the more and more people using cell phones and higher volume, they have started implementing small cell technology, which is more so co-located onto power poles and things. You can see extra boxes. That's to increase capacity so that you're not getting.
Kind of like HD radio.
Yeah.
I always tell people that if you're down in Atlanta and you see on the side of a building what looks like an old walkie-talkie or old cell phone, where it's the brick with the antenna on top of it, that's a small cell.
Tim still got one of those, but
No. One of 40, sorry.
That's a good one. All right. Any other questions? All right. That'll conclude the first read of ordinance 2026-05175. Thank you, Ms. Kiefer. All right. That brings us to O, second reads. We have none. So that'll bring us to P, action items. Resolution 2026-05164, resolution to adopt amendments to the planning and development fee schedule.
All right, so this is an action item for you tonight. It's a resolution to revise the fee schedule for just some various cleanup as we've seen either not needing some of the fees that were in Gwinnett's ordinance or needing some better clarification on based on how we've been using it. So we've got an LDP renewal fee added there. We've removed all the separate stormwater fees. Those are all handled through the land disturbance permitting process, so they've not been useful. We've added some miscellaneous fees, bounce check fee, some of the work permit fees that we're needing to be able to process some of the occupational tax certificates with the new ordinance, small cell application fees, as well just a myriad of other building permit fees that we've added in the proposed chart. In the long term, and especially with the UDO rewrite, we'll probably find that we'll restructure the fee schedule over time. But this is kind of working as right now.
One of those that I wanted to add to a couple of you that we've added is a vacant property permit fee. So anyone who wants to not tear down a piece of property that's been vacant would have to now, file a permit with us and pay a fee annually for keeping the property vacant and not moving forward. But, they'd have the regular code enforcement stuff, but once we find out that it's vacant, they have to maintain a permit on file with us, pay a permit to keep it till active.
That's great. I agree. We have a few of those on 124, in case you don't know. But yeah.
Yeah, Pine Road.
And there have been two that have really come up, was 324 and 124. Those started as code enforcement cases, and our guys were immediately on it. They contacted the property owner, and as you can see, they're starting to get cleaned up. And then, then it's saying, hey, in addition to that, right, if you're going to keep this way, then you also now need to come in and file for a vacant property permit.
Any questions from the council for staff? All right, hearing none, then I'll make a motion to adopt resolution 2026-05164. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilman Ingram. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call a vote. All in favor? All opposed? All right, by a vote of 4, resolution 2026-0564 is hereby adopted. All right, that will bring us to action item B, contract for consulting services with Mary Consultant for accredited policy development for the Mulberry Marshal's office.
Good evening.
looking sharp.
Oh,
I like
thank you.
it.
Thank you. I appreciate it. So what you have before you is a contract for a accreditation consultant for the marshal's office. We got one. So I want to explain what this is about. So I made a little PowerPoint for you, just kind of so we understand what accreditation does for us. As you find out, as the city begins to grow, we're very litigious in the law enforcement side of house, right? We cost a lot of money, and some of those things cause what they call Monell action. Those of you who have been sued under a Civil Rights Act know what a Monell action is, and part of a Monell action is a policy violation or a lack of following policies or having a custom or practice that you did that is not a best practice, right? So what CALIA accreditation and state accreditation is, it's us checking on ourselves, right? It's having an outside entity come in and make sure we're doing the things we're supposed to do. It was developed in 1979 by a group of the IACP, which is the International Chiefs Association, is the National Organization of Black Law Enforcement Executives, the National Sheriff's Association, and the Police Executive Forum, which is PERF. They came together and said, we got to develop some best practices for law enforcement. We got to make sure that we have a way of training these officers, making sure that the policies that they're doing are not only protecting the citizens, but protecting the cities and the counties. So what is accreditation? It's a voluntary compliance with an outside entity, right? We're saying, come in and look at the things we do and make sure we're doing the things we're supposed to reduce liability on the city. All right. Agencies involved have to demonstrate a commitment to professionalism. There's no doubt that every day we watch videos and see some agencies that don't really lean in professionalism sometimes, or we see people who like to push the limits with a human being and see what happens, right? We don't live in the polite society we used to. I just want that clear. And the way we were brought up to respect people, it's just not there anymore. So this helps us with professionalism through training, and it also helps structure our training programs to make sure that we're doing the right things at the right time. Right. Assessment also includes extensive self-assessment by the agency. So every year we assess ourselves. Not only that, during the process, about every quarter, the outside agency, CALEA or the state accreditation, will come in and remotely go into our policies, look at our policies, make sure that they're written correctly. But not only that, they pull the proofs, right? We have to put proofs in there that we're abiding by those policies. And just because, one part of that is good, we could still be out of compliance if we're not doing the things we're supposed to do, right? So accreditation seeks to establish best practices. The standards prescribed are what agencies should do, right? They tell us what we should do, but not how we're supposed to do them, right? They give us a small blurb. This is what you should be doing. You got to figure out what's best for your agency and how you're going to make that happen, right? And the ultimate responsibility is left to me, right? To make sure that these policies and these practices are being adhered to. Okay, it has a standard that tells us what the agency must do. So the Mulberry's Marshal Office must have written directives and tells CALEA how we intend to comply with those standards. They give us the standards, then we present them to the auditor, and they look at it and say, okay, this will work, and then we go ahead and start practicing that standard. It's outside look to make sure what we're doing. And then every year, we must document and prove compliance for each standard. So CALEA, I don't want to overspeak CALEA. CALEA has 270 standards that they require us to abide by. State has another 125 standards that we have to abide by. They do overlap. So if CALEA, with their 275, can reduce the number of state standards we have to comply because they overlap one another. If our proof doesn't follow policy, right, we're not compliant, right? Even if the proof is technically compliant with the standard. So the standard can be right, but if our policy is still out of whack, we're no, and we lose that. So CALEA goes to strengthen crime prevention and control in our communities, right? We talked a little bit about that when we were talking about our e-bikes, right? How are we going to fix that? It helps guide us in the ways we're going to do things. It formalizes essential management procedures, make sure things as the managers of the police department or marshal's office that we're doing the things we're supposed to do. It solidifies interagency cooperation. The most important things that we're talking to one another. We're finding out by working with our counterpart and community and staff confidence in the agency. The most important thing is our credibility with our constituency out there, right? The people we serve. Well, they have to know they're doing the right thing. And I've seen these take place. I've been where there have been riots, right? I've been where there's been demonstrations, and people are saying, you guys need to start doing this. You guys need to start doing this. And we're like, oh, it's in our policy. We're CLIA accredited. We're doing these things. The people that did this are not doing these things. So understand that your agency in your hometown are abiding by best practices. All right. It's a great accountability within the agency, right? Standards given by the chief executive officer, proven system of written directives, training clearly and routine reports that support decision making. If I don't have the information, if I don't have the statistics, if I don't know what's going on, through our standards, then I can't really direct the department in the way it needs to be directed, right? We're small now, right? 6 people. It's kind of easy to direct folks, but as things grow, as people are put in place, as we become more active in the community, we need the policies, procedures, and the customs to align with one another. All right. Improve employee morale. Listen, people are happiest when they know what's expected of them, right? When they can look at the paper, oh, this is what they want us to do. This is how we're supposed to do it. And this is the standard. And this is why we're doing it. All those things are covered in state and CLIA certification, right? Finally, it reduced the risk of liability, right? Many agencies report, I think, for state, it's usually about 10% reduction in your liability insurance. And then it's if you have state and CLIA, it puts you at about 15 to 18%. It depends on your carrier, of course, right? How to recognize that, but there is a significant reduction in liability insurance. All right. There's a stronger defense against civil lawsuits. We talked about Monell and how those lawsuits can come about, right? But many agents report a decline in legal actions. Once they find out that you're accredited, it's kind of like, okay, well, we can't go after the policy, so we're going to have to go after some things that they may or may not be doing. It's one more defense, that a layer of defense that you have. And then hopefully when you see us doing the right thing as the policy making part of the city, you have more confidence in what we're out there doing. And you feel like, hey, they're taking care of their equipment because their policy said they're going to take care of their equipment. They're doing the right things because their policy say that, and they have the proofs to go along with it. Again, this isn't just writing policies. This is opening the doors of your department and letting people come in and say, hey, they're doing what they're supposed to do. These are totally outside independent agencies that come in and look at you. All your business is out in the street, good, bad, or indifferent. They're going to come in and tell you what you. And you have increased community advocacy. Once the public sees, hey, everything that they say is true, because there's the proof. There's the proof in the pudding, right? We have our proofs, we have our policies, and they're all aligning with one another, right? What happens is when you get those customs outside your policies, that's when you develop problems, right? Well, we know what it says we do, but that's not how we really do it. We've probably heard that somewhere in our lives before, right? And so you want to do what you say you're going to do, and you use the proofs to do that. And then finally, I just kind of wanted you to see what certification looks like in the state. Okay. The state certification is by the Georgia Chiefs Association. Law enforcement agencies in the state are state certified, right? 29 municipal agencies are CLIA certified in the entire state. Only 29, right? 12 sheriff's offices are CLIA certified. 5 county or regional law enforcement agencies are state certified, right? 1 state agency is CLIA certified. There are only 2 universities in the entire state. So it's a high bar. A lot of people say it's not worth it. It's not worth to hold yourself accountable. I'll argue that it is. I'll argue that it's very important for us, especially as a young city, to show that we're willing to step up and go to the next level to make sure that what we're doing is not going to hurt our public, but we're going to be accountable to our public. So that's what I got to present. So about the contract, Mari Consulting's this is a individual who is a accreditation manager and a certification manager in the city of Cartersville. And so they're willing to come on and do our certifications, our state and our CLIA certification at basically half the price. It would less over half the price than it would cost for us to hire an employee to do it. Now I can say, I'm going to be honest with you that if this ever grows to be anything more than what it is, this is a full-time position, right? This is a full-time position. Most people make this position a certification manager and a manager, if you're going to look at what a law enforcement agency would do. So, but at the current state and the current ability of what we can do now, this is a great opportunity to get those policies ahead of us now so we can grow into them in the future.
Any questions for the chief?
Well stated.
Yeah.
I have one question, Chief. What was the statistic you showed for the municipal?
There's only 29.
So that's like, 5%.
There's over 580
cities.
It's like 5%.
So at Woodstock, my agency was CALIA and state certified there. That represents 3% of law enforcement agencies in the entire country.
There you go.
You would be represented by 3%. You would be in the top tier of law enforcement agencies when it comes to policies and abiding by the rules that are set forth, best practices.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I was going to say is first off, thank you to you, Chief, for making this a priority, right? I mean, obviously that says a lot about you and your agency and what's important to you. So thank you. And obviously, as one of those big, bad, mean lawyers that, loves to go after police departments, certainly appreciate your willingness to try to avoid that as well. So but yeah.
It's near and dear to my heart because, like I said, if know what the expectation is here, right? We don't have any bad habits right now. Let's not create any.
Yeah.
Let's start it from the very beginning. Let's start at the highest standard we can, and only move forward, right? I don't want to get too much deep into this, but when you start looking at why people do things greater than themselves, right? You have to start wondering, well, if you look at somebody that decides they're going to go into one branch as military or the other, right? Why does one choose to go in one branch, one go in the other? They get paid the same on the base pay for the most part, but one decides he wants to be a Marine, right? Why does that guy want to go and do something a little bit harder than the average guy or gal? Right? People want to do things and be great. They want to join great things. And I think this is another way for us just to be great.
Perfect. Any other questions for the Chief?
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. Then at this time, we'll entertain a motion on this contract.
Make a motion. Information here. I'd make a motion that we approve the contract for consulting services with Mari Consulting for the accreditation and public policy or accreditation and policy development for the Mulberry Marshal's Office,
Okay. And authorize the mayor to execute the same.
and authorize mayor to execute the same.
Thank you, Councilman Ingram. Do I have a second on that motion?
Second.
Thank you, Councilman Sullivan. Any other discussion? Hearing none, I'll call a vote. All in favor? All opposed? All right, by a vote of 4, the agreement between the City of Mulberry Marshal's Office and Mari Consultant for certification is hereby adopted, and the mayor will execute the same. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, sir.
All right, that will bring us to we got 2 things left. Action item C, intergovernmental agreement with Gwinnett County Planning and Development for permitting county projects or property inside the city of Mulberry.
So for one, sorry, good evening, Mayor and Council. Person with the podium technically. For one, I didn't mention this in my opening comments, but I want to thank Gwinnett County because of the fact that on Tuesday they agreed and signed the 3-party agreement with us to kind of keep everything the same. So there will be no changes in how our citizens pay for trash services as well as pay for stormwater. The only difference will be instead of those funds, once they leave the tax office going to Gwinnett County, they will now come to the city of Mulberry. So I'm thankful for that. With that, we have gotten this agreement from Gwinnett County to do an intergovernmental agreement that works with their planning and development department about their facilities here. This is a pretty much standard agreement that they have with some of the others that basically says that, they don't pay any permit fees to us. If it's on their property, they do the review and everything else. They just give us the timing when they plan on doing it. They have the fire stations here as well as the training facility. And it's my understanding that they pretty soon will be they went out to bid, they pretty soon will be starting on construction of the upgrades to the fire training facility that's located right here off of 124. So my request is to recommend and ask for authorization for the mayor to sign this intergovernmental agreement. so that, we can, move forward with us doing our planning stuff here, but them working on their facilities, and allowing them to move forward that way. And this gives us another great thing of a tie and showing our communication and willingness to work with Gwinnett County.
Any questions for the city manager about this proposed IGA?
Yeah, just a tad bit confused. So we're gonna let Gwinnett P and D do stuff for property they own in the city and we're not, or,
Yes, sir.
okay.
And I have a question as well.
Go ahead.
The other question would, as they do, will it go before city council or no?
No, sir.
Okay, so they will purchase, okay, so that.
There is a courtesy that's there as far as like, I'm pretty sure like the communication that, Rebecca and I have with them, like they would let us know. And a lot of our architecture standards are still on what would they do. They're not going to do anything that's, outrageous, where they would let us know. They technically, outside of the parks, right? Like the parks, the fire stations, the training facility, there's not much land or vacant land that the county owns inside the city limits anyway. This is more so saying, hey, right, like instead of us paying you permit fees and adding to our timeline on when we go to construction on things, we just want to go ahead and have an intergovernmental agreement that keeps us being able to move forward with, construction on their facilities.
And no, like I guess let me try to ask this in the right way. In your experience and staff's experience in other environments where they have these county municipality agreements, have there ever been any scenarios that have turned out or gone in kind of a way that wasn't planned? Like everybody certainly should be professional and play nice. And that's the idea here. But I'm just curious, has there ever been any scenarios where this has unintended consequences?
No.
Okay.
I mean, usually if a county has property and they're talking about vertical construction and elements of vertical construction, like it's pretty standard. They're usually government facilities, right? Like there are very few things that I can see and think about that would be like if they sold the property, right? That's to a private entity, then we are back in control of where it's at, right? Like when you count the areas, they're not going to build more buildings really on the parklands. This is really talking about the fire station and training facility.
So they couldn't theoretically like sell Mulberry Park and put a shopping mall there.
Then it goes to a private company and there's some city limits, right? Like it is no longer a park.
That brings a good point. And the point is Gwinnett Mall. Isn't the county the owner of Gwinnett Mall right now? And they're developing that on their own prerogative.
I don't know I don't know the answer to that question, but it is county owned. You're correct. Small. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I just think it bears, certainly we've done, obviously, we all are all the same perspective that we appreciate the county, what they did on the tax side. That was amazing. And we want it to be productive. I think it's just as, representatives of the constituents, we just also want it to be right. And sometimes decisions have unintended consequences. I just wonder if this is one of those scenarios where.
Yeah, some freaky, like the county buys 50 acres and decides, we're gonna build housing, section 8 here, and it's gonna be county owned, boom. Then we have section 8 in the middle of the city as an unintended consequence. Would that, something they could get around and do?
Let me just say this, right? Like I feel with the relationship that we're building with the county, like I don't necessarily see those scenarios happening.
You don't have any authority over what they build on that property anyway.
Yeah, that's the other part that I wasn't going to say out loud in the meeting.
Oh, okay.
Like the reality is like we couldn't stop them if we wanted to, right?
This is the difference. We're not going to do their inspections. We're not going to do their reviews of their plans. They're not going to pay us permit fees because they have their own people to do them. Our only thing that we care about is that they take all the liability for it.
I don't take the sugar off the bush on this one, right? They're taking the liability for it. It's on their property. They didn't have to ask us this. This is a goodwill agreement that shows that there is progress amongst us communicating.
Oh, there you go. Well stated.
Should have led with that.
Well, I mean, cameras on, man.
Hold on, I'm sorry. Mr. City Attorney, can I ask a question? So you're saying we do not have the authority to, so let's say this agreement gets thrown in the trash. We say we're not doing it. And then they come before us and say, hey, we want to sell the park and we want to build whatever it may be. Without this intergovernmental agreement, you're saying that I would have no, the council would have no authority over that parcel?
No, what I'm saying is the county is not, the county can build what they want to on their property. We can't tell them that they can't build stuff on their property.
Well, if they want to seek a separate zoning classification, correct, where they would have to come before us to rezone it. Am I wrong?
It's questionable.
I don't know that this doesn't have anything to do with zoning. Let's just start with it. This only has to do with how they're gonna. Let me go back.
Let me try to fix this. So you're saying review would only be the architectural review of the plans. It would not be the county board of commission would not rezone property that they own within the city limits. Is that correct?
Mr. Mayor, every county piece of property that's county owned right now is also considered an unencumbered inside the city.
Okay,
They can build what they want to on their property. It becomes different if they were trying to do something else. But for instance, parks. Okay, parks are owned by the Parks Authority, right? Depending on how they got the money to buy the park in the first place, they may be forestalled from doing anything else with that parkland anyway. Sort of like airport property. You get FAA money, the money to buy airport property, you're stuck with it as airport property. Property in Dawsonville that they bought with airport property, they're not going to get to build a park there.
Historic grant money is the same thing.
Same thing. So we don't know what their limitations are on their property, but there are potential limitations on every property that they have based on the funding stream that they bought the property or obtained the property with.
Well, I guess one of my other questions, obviously, we have Mr. Stansel here. And Mr. Stansel, I don't mean to throw you under the bus or put you on the spot, but obviously we have a couple historical centers that are owned by the county too, right? And I like the idea of Mulberry having some second level of oversight over some of those historical.
I'm gonna be honest with you right now. I think the best thing to do is to sign this agreement, because generally what you would see those parcels, there's a chance those parcels could come into the city under this agreement. Right now, at unincorporated islands, we have no rights to them. So as a goodwill gesture, I think allowing them to do the permitting and everything else, and then we can start talking about them being annexed into the city, still maintained up under this agreement for permitting and inspections for a certain time period. That's the best way to get to close to where we're at. Because right now, they could tear down this piece of property and do whatever they want to with it. And there's nothing that we can do about it. This is a goodwill gesture.
Well, let's put it this way.
Yeah.
They believe that they have to have the inspections done by us and the permits by us built. Okay, that's their belief. There is an argument that they do not. When I was in Johns Creek and I had a school district, I said, we're not doing permitting. They wanted us to do inspections. They wanted us to do it for free. And we said, no, you're a separate sovereign. You do your own. Okay. The county believes that they have to have us give them the permits and do the inspections. And they want to do it themselves because it doesn't cost them anything. They don't want to pay the permit fees. Your ability to control what they build is not there. Your ability to supervise, they do go by all of the requirements of the state codes of how you build. You may have authority over that they have to come and let you do the inspection. That is the limitation of what you can really do with their property. What they're saying is we want to do it ourselves. My only caveat when they sent it to us the first time was they didn't give us a hold harmless agreement. And then what we were doing is enter an intergovernmental agreement for them to do limited inspections on the properties that they own, that they had the capacity to do on their own and not have to pay for it. I was with that as long as hold harmless if third parties came in and said you didn't inspect correctly, you didn't install correctly, and they have immunity as a county and we don't as a city, and we become the entity that somebody sues because the county didn't follow their own rules in how they did their inspections. So that's the limitation of what this agreement is really all about. Not about whether they can zone, not about whether they can build housing, not about whether they can tear down what they got and build something else, because they can do that. We don't control those things on their property.
It's the same thing with the school. I mean, even when you look at the schools and the county, the schools could go do whatever they want to anyway. It's just jurisdiction. Communication amongst staff between the two.
And I completely understand your incentives is to show a goodwill gesture, and I get that, and I'm 100%, and I want to give you the ability to give that olive branch. I think I share, it sounds like, Councilman Ingram maybe has the same concerns. I just want to make sure that, I mean, he brought up he's not wrong, that at Gwinnett Place Mall, they purchased that up and they are handling the redevelopment of that property, right? So that private property that they use county funds to go purchase, and then they are going to do. And so who's to say they don't do a similar thing within the city? And so is there anything in this agreement that protects the city from something like that happening?
No, sir.
No, there's not.
But there's nothing to stop them from us to stop them from doing that anyway. If you're surrounded by city land, even like it's county property.
Except if I read this, and certainly no expert, you guys are the experts, but I see call outs to stormwater, sewer tie-ins, et cetera, right? So, I mean, infrastructure, county infrastructure surrounded by municipal land has stormwater, which is our purview, right? Tie-ins to stormwater, et cetera. Look, I think the question always remains, and I'm absolutely with Mr. Mayor on this too. We want a productive relationship with the county. Can't say that enough. I think we've been fairly articulate in that consistent conversation point. I think at the same time, our duty is to the citizens of Mulberry and making sure that we don't sign an agreement for 3 years that has unintended consequences that we could not have understood at
I
the
think
time.
it's 50 years, not to correct you, but yeah.
Oh, 50 years. Okay, fantastic. No,
Right.
I'm sure they would be just as happy for us to do it if you would waive their fees.
And so we're on the same page, right? Like you can do private stormwater facilities. Like there is, I would not bring this to you all if I thought that there was something that
Well, and
not protect the citizens.
And here's the thing, and this is where I will be a bit more articulate. This is a non-starter if we don't have the history we have had, right? And that's in the history is the history. Like I'm not weigh in on one way or the other, but the history here is one of staff to staff having productive relationships and talking very favorably, and lawyer to lawyer having a different result and spend lots of money in litigation and appeals and everything else. So I recognize that the Gwinnett County, Gwinnett PD, everybody, staff, super uber level of professionalism. Outside of that, staff to staff interaction at an elected level, and we've had kind of a different experience at times, and I know we're all trying to work on that. So that's the question: is where can we have a productive relationship and not, I can say, gosh, I wish, we didn't intend for that thing to happen. So that's the concern.
Respectfully, sir, I understand that concern. I will say that they don't need this agreement. And what this does, though, is it slowly back those political arguments and
Yeah.
issues.
Yeah.
Because the fear is, right, to Tim's point, the problem they do have, there is literally nothing to stop them to where if we don't sign this agreement as a good faith effort, more so than anything, that they can't just go in there and sell the property or bring in the housing authority and do all those things out of spite for something that really is a very, at a staff and functional level, very moot point.
I think for me, I want to know that fact is 100% true. This is what here's the reality, and I for the council. about them doing the reviews. You can do the reviews. The question is, are we given the legal question that I have? And if the city attorney's willing and able to give me this legal opinion today, then I'm fine with that. But if he needs more time to give me a legal opinion, that they have the ability to come and acquire property within the city, and then we have lost all ability to zone if we sign this agreement, or to whatever, future developments or future whatever. Again, I don't care about the fire training center. I don't care about the parks. I care about the acquisition of property moving forward and the effect of this.
If you want a legal opinion on it, I'm gonna ask you to defer this for 2 weeks.
Yeah, I think David will do that. You want me to make a motion?
Sure, I'll do it. So I'll make a motion to table this agreement for the intergovernmental agreement for reviewing, inspecting, and permitting county construction projects in the city of Mulberry until the June 18th, 2026 meeting. Do I have a second on that?
Second.
Thank you, Councilman Ingram. Any other discussion? Hearing none, I'll call a vote. All in favor? All opposed? Okay, so that was 4-0. We'll table till the June 18th, 2026 meeting. All right. That'll bring us to action items P, D, a trash service discussion and action item.
This will be very quick. For other reasons, in addition to the one that we have recommended, we want to recommend just negotiating and discussing the trash services with the first and second place trash providers who are also currently servicing the city of Mulberry. I just want to discuss it with these two groups as of current. That's not saying that we're changing our recommendation or anything of that nature, but while we're in discussions, we would like to have a staff conversation with both providers, and we would like your recommendation to allow us to do that. That's a little bit of TBD.
Okay.
As we look to this, just for elements of what Councilman Ingram brought up, some other things, maybe a little bit of a status quo for a year now that we have everything that we need to the tax.
Is so the action item is authorizing you as city manager and city attorney
To negotiate,
City manager and the city attorney to negotiate with bid providers 1 and 2. Is that correct?
Lowest responsible bidders, number 1 and 2.
Lowest responsible bidders, number 1 and 2, to negotiate that agreement.
Responsible.
Yeah.
Lowest,
The lowest qualified and
Lowest
responsive.
responsible
Yeah.
bidders is how it's supposed to be for the two most responsible bidders.
All right.
However you want to do that.
Madam Clerk, did you get
LLRB.
Well, yeah.
All right, so I make the motion what he said. Do I have a second on that?
Yeah, what he said.
Thank you, Councilman Ingram. Any other discussion? Hearing none, I'll call a vote. All in favor? All opposed? By a vote of 4, the motion carries. All right, that will bring us to action or executive session item Q. Do we have any items for executive session this evening?
we do not.
All right, hearing none, we'll move on to item R. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming. Thank you for sticking with us. We know it was a lot of discussion. We appreciate you all being here. Everybody obviously drive safe, and hopefully we'll see you on June 13th at Mulberry Jam. All right, at this time, I make a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilman Sullivan. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call a vote. All in favor? All opposed? All right, by vote of 4, hereby adjourned. Thank you. Much power.